What's going on, guys? I just wanted to give an update and my opinion on what might be causing these delays with the Z06. Now, this semiconductor shortage appears to be more than what we thought. Check this out. Neon, a colorless and odorless gas, is typically not exciting as it sounds, but this unassuming element happens to play a critical role in the tech that we use every day. For years, this neon has mostly come from the Ukraine. I had no idea. I don't even know what this neon is. With just 2 companies that purify enough to produce devices for much of the world, usually with very little issue until Russia invaded. All right? So the semiconductor manufacturers rely on neon to control the specialized lasers they use to make computer chips. Right now, it's not entirely clear whether they have enough time to find and develop new sources of the gas before their backup supplies run out. Chip companies and industry analysts say there's anywhere between 1 to 6 months worth of neon in reserve. If that runs out, these companies won't be able to make semiconductors. This means that the worldwide chip shortage could prolong itself, which means this is a bigger issue than folks anticipated. So listen, it gets worse. Material shortages could drive price increases, hence the potential reason why delayed price announcements for that Z06, right? So why raise semiconductor prices? My opinion, for the same reason they're raising Corvette prices. You go to a dealer, guy jacks it up. It's supply and demand. So in the midst of a significant supply shortage, why would manufacturers want to raise chip prices? For Taiwan Semiconductor, the answer is twofold with a long and short-term goal. In the long term, higher prices create more net revenue for Taiwan Semiconductor to put toward aggressive investments and new capacities. In the short term, price increases reduce demand from customers who are not in dire need of the chips and preserve capacity for customers who need chips now. Okay, basically what that means is folks that have a surplus of chips that are not in dire straits to put these things in equipment, they're going to sit back and say, you know what, you guys have raised prices, we've got plenty of chips, we're just going to lay low till the prices come down. But for the companies such as GM who need these chips in order to produce vehicles, they're going to have to pay the higher price, right? So it doesn't end there. Michelin is even in on this thing too, right? And this is just a couple, guys. I'm sure there's a long list of manufacturers and suppliers that are potentially going to be increasing their prices. But Michelin has also increased prices, in their tire lines. So I say all this because it starts to paint a bigger picture of why they may not have been able to release pricing or start the production of these vehicles. Hey guys, do me a favor. If you're enjoying the content, hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers and every click counts. Really appreciate it. So before we wrap up here, guys, let's take a look at a few questions. And these answers to these questions are my opinions. I would love to get you guys' opinions in the comments. Curious to know what everybody else is thinking here, but let's just go through it. Why did GM suggest to do no mag ride in non-Z51 cars? I'm going to give you my opinion. I think that GM execs made a decision to use whatever supplies they had available to provision the cars they thought needed it most, which were the track-ready vehicles. And as we all know, the Z06 comes with mag ride control. So I think that they were probably trying to, shake out some of the numbers and say, you know what, let's just look to go Z51. We won't exhaust the surplus with all these, non-Z51 orders, and we can reserve some of these chips to possibly launch a subset of Z06s, right? That's just my opinion, okay? Why not release the Z06 with the current chip surplus? Again, I believe these execs sat in a meeting and pondered a go or no-go decision to release a subset of vehicles. Too many variables warranted a no-go decision. There's just too much going on right now for these guys to even say, you know what, we can put out a subset of vehicles now, and then we'll try and play catch up. It's a difficult thing to do because you can't just exhaust your chip surplus. You have to have maintenance reserves. So if you have enough chips to make 1,000 vehicles, you can't make 1,000 vehicles. You have to hold some back for maintenance. If something happens to some of those production vehicles, you're going to need some surplus to go back and maintain it. So it gets tricky, right? So why can't Z06 pricing be released? I think that comes down to the supply chain issues. They spawn price increases, as I talked about in a previous slide. And what happens is you can't sustain. You can't even come up with your final pricing, because if prices are continuing to fluctuate, how are you able to say, okay, here's the price of the car? You run into supply chain issues a week later, and then your prices increase. And you've already announced a final price for the car. It gets tricky. Listen, this whole thing is a mess, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Until next week, see you.